The HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast is powered by Cornerstone Gundog Academy. CGA is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for the free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gundog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast. Out in the field, how you've prepared determines how you'll perform. With balanced fat and protein to support peak condition, HPOWP Premium Performance Dog Food enhances strength, energy, and endurance. So when the pavement ends and the truck doors swing open, you and your dogs are ready for anything. Strong, focused, ready for anything? That's a HPOWP dog. Since 1898, Old Town has been building the most advanced, quality watercraft products to give you the very best experience on the water. Whether you're hunting, fishing, or enjoying a relaxing paddle on the lake, there's a boat for every type of adventurer. If you haven't seen it, check out their newest offering, the new grab-and-go watercraft designed to function as your boat, blind, and retriever. The easy-to-conceal, 11-foot 9-inch, 56-pound Solo Sportsman is the ideal craft for those in search of a stable, lightweight craft that's easy to paddle and even easier to transport or stash. Designed with the hunter and angler in mind, the Solo Sportsman is equipped with thoughtful shell, tackle, and tool storage, a comfortable and adjustable seat and foot braces, an accessory track, and rod holders. Check it out at oldtowncanoe.com/sportsman. Gunner kennels are engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner in a category all its own. They were started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything that they do. Gunner is dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunner.com. Lucky Duck, about the only creature they can't deceive is you. Lucky Duck is more than a brand, it's a lifestyle built around the subtle art of critter deception. So while you're focused on the business end of your shotgun or rifle, know that they're completely focused on what matters most, you. So whether you're in a duck blind, dove field, on a predator stand, or chasing turkeys, they're confident that their products will help you succeed. Check out their full lineup at luckyduck.com and keep up with their latest news by following them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All right, welcome to episode 192 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast, where your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. If you're new to the show, welcome. You can catch up on all of our past episodes anywhere you can find quality podcast content, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your quality podcast shows, you can find ours there. You can also head over to hpoutdoors.com, find out what we got going on the site. We've got some gear posted up there. You can listen to the episodes there as well. And you can also find us over on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're a Facebook user, you can join our listeners group. You can chat with like-minded hunters. You can chat with my co-host, Dan Harushka. Dan, what's up?
We're in the first week of October, man.
Correct.
This is exciting. So our duck opener opens this weekend. I do have a wedding, but I do believe that I will sneak out somewhere before said wedding. And then the weekend after is our southern opener. And made some plans to hit that up down south a little bit too. So it's a time to get back in the swamp.
Are you starting to see any birds move into the area?
We have a ton of geese right now. Like a ton.
Any ducks moving in? I don't know.
I haven't seen many ducks. So it will be I'm not sure where I'm going to go on opener, but it'll probably be more of a scouting. And I mean, there's always Pymie and all the local birds there. There's still a ton of ducks over there, but I don't know if I want to venture into that war zone.
Gotcha.
You know how it is.
Yeah, I'm always just curious to see what kind of duck movement you're observing this time of year, because we've talked about how Pennsylvania doesn't have an early teal season, and I'm just wondering, had you had the opportunity to shoot teal in September, would that have been something you could have taken advantage of or not?
I don't think so. Not very consistently, no.
Right.
I've seen a lot of wood ducks that probably would have get shot during the teal season. So
No doubt.
I think that's why we don't have it. But Yeah, I've seen a lot of wood ducks, but been talking about them since last year.
Yeah. Well, this week we're going to talk about a post that you made in the Facebook group here recently, and it's discussing sort of tips and techniques that go against the grain, meaning, um, maybe goes against conventional wisdom, or one of those types of things where when you tell somebody, about this technique, they kind of like pause for a minute and they're like, wait, what? You do what? Just some of those things that are kind of, you know, you dig out of the bag of tricks to see, if you can get something going, or if you're in a tough spot, maybe where you're hunting stale birds or high pressure, whatever it is, something that you can pull out of your bag and try to, pull a good hunt together. So we had a lot of people in the Facebook group chime in. So we'll talk through some of the things that they have posted and discussed. And then, as we go through that, we'll kind of sprinkle in some of our own that that we like to do. So, um,
Yeah, and I will preface this conversation with I don't know if these people actually do all these things because there's some stuff that is a little different, but we'll figure it out. Also, before we get into that, if people haven't seen the new sound gear hearing protection, we get questions about hearing protection all the time. Sound gear came out with the new Phantom, which they just put out their video, but rechargeable Bluetooth. I'm excited about it, and I guess we'll see what the price point is when they come out. But it's pretty cool. First of their kind. But anyway, all right. Let's start on some of these against the grain concepts, and the first one I'm going to go with TJ Freno because I think it is um, a good execution, and I called it the fake pickup. So he pulls all the decoys except for one or two. Usually works well with the geese and water setup. Works best in public areas when there are a bunch of huge spreads. And I know you have mentioned this before, but what are your thoughts there?
yeah, I mean, I think it definitely can work. I think it's ingrained in our minds as waterfowl hunters who are sort of probably by nature a little bit gear centric, that more is always better. You never have enough decoys, right? How many times have you heard people say that? Or I only shoot 3.5 because they don't make fours, whatever. Everyone thinks more is better. But sometimes, as you've talked about a lot with your minimalist spread stuff, you can get the job done with less. And I think in public land setups or high pressure where everyone's throwing out big spreads, it's definitely more true than other times, because as I've mentioned, if you look on a river where there's blinds all up and down the river and they've all got decoys or spreads in front of them, if you're a bird that's from that area or spent some time in that area, and every time you fly by one of these spreads you get shot at, you're going to start to think, okay, the ones that have the ducks in front of them are not where I'm going to go. It's going to be those ones that have less. So one or two, or I've even proposed none sometimes if you're in the right spot. So I think that's a good one, and I think that is one that as a hunter, waterfowl hunter, is really hard to swallow, to say that like I'm only going to hunt over like two decoys or very very few. I mean, you know, I think when most people talk about a minimalist spread, they're like, oh, we only threw out like a dozen or two, one or two dozen deeks. A lot of people kind of reference it in that frame where we're talking even, less than that.
Yeah, I like the minimalist spread, and I think it's almost kind of um, what a lot of walk-in hunters do. I don't, a lot of walk-in hunters aren't going to be carrying dozens of decoys, so they'll find their little potholes back in the woods and take three or four decoys and go from there. And the one Rowan Allen actually said, "No calling, no decoys, just being where the birds want to go." And like you said, when you're hunting the river and you can see them. The same with around Pymatuning, they have the blind set up, and you can literally watch the geese just curve in and out around the blinds and
Yeah.
go to the other side of the field. So
Well,
they figure it out.
and I mean, no calling, no decoys, just be where they want to be. I mean, that's sort of the name of the game. I mean, that's not really against the grain, in my opinion. That's just sound advice. I mean, obviously, You scout where they want to be. You just get up there and get hidden, and you're going to have success. I think
Yeah,
what
I could see that with duck hunting, goose hunting fields. Could could you put a layout blind with no decoys out in the middle of the field?
if you brushed it in enough in the right situation, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're where they want to land, I mean, we've certainly seen a lot of times in fields where birds are very specific on where they land, where they want to land for a
that's
couple
very
key
true.
reasons, as we've talked about in the past. That early season hunt comes to mind where we hunted a field where the birds were landing over this little rise where you couldn't see them from the road. So if you didn't see them go in there, you wouldn't know they were there. And I don't think that was a mistake. So in a situation like that, I think if you get out there and you get brushed in real tight, yeah, you got a good shot at killing some birds like that.
Yeah. No, I agree, but I just don't see a lot of people doing that. I see
Oh,
them.
I don't. I think that's one of those things where everyone says it because it's sound logic, but no one actually does that.
No, no.
No one goes out and just doesn't
So
duck anything
if
like that.
Rowan, if you do that, I would consider that you're doing it against the grain. But
You rebel, you
so
Rowan.
you're Rowan the rebel. All right. There's a few people on here that mention this, but uh, mid morning hunts, which I've been hearing it a lot more with whitetail in recent years too, and it used to be like people just, oh, they're lazy, they don't want to wake up early and get out there. Well, now seems like people are, maybe other people are moving around and moving those birds around or deer around, and when they go in at 9 or 10 in the morning, then they have action right away instead of sitting through the super early morning and darkness. And just seems like a lot more people. There are a few on here that said mid morning hunts, and they must be doing well with that approach.
Yeah, I sort of feel like that's just going to be somewhat scout specific. I mean, if you're sitting on a field and the birds are out of there by a certain period of time in the morning or something, if you say, "Well, I'm just going to buck the trend and go later," you shouldn't be shocked if you miss them. But that there's definitely opportunities to kill birds midday if you've got reason to believe that they're using that area at that time of the day.
Yeah. Yep. All right, we're gonna go with Ricky Hart. He says running 95% duck butts and agitators to show a more relaxed environment. And this makes me think of, we've talked heavily on uh, hunting geese over water and having sleepers, because if you have sleepers on the shore, you know that they're comfortable enough to be just sleeping, not highly alert like all the birds on the water if all you have is floaters. So duck butts, agitators, they're comfortable, they're feeding, show a lot more of that than just your floaters. What do you think?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that that certainly there's something to that. I would say that it would be against the grain to use a ton of them. I think most people throw like one or two, right? I mean,
Yeah.
one or two in like a jerk string or something. If you threw out like a dozen, that were all splashing and flicking around, I mean, it certainly could work. I've never done it. Um, but I mean, it would be an against the grain technique, in my opinion. Just I don't know many people that have taken that approach, but I don't see why it wouldn't be effective.
I feel like that would be a great, like if you broke ice and had a hole, and just to keep it open, but two, just showing there's food there, and like a real cold day that you had to break ice. I feel like that would be super legit. And maybe I just don't see that many big groups of feeding ducks
Yeah, I
it makes
mean,
sense otherwise.
yeah, I mean, I don't dispute that the agitators and stuff like that work because I use them and I do believe that they work for a multitude of reasons. But it's one of those ones that's just hard for me conceptually because I don't know how it really replicates a feeding duck. I mean, I've never seen many ducks splash water like that. Um, I mean, obviously, this kind of decoy has been around for a long time, but it's just one of those things where you know, They splash some.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think the benefit of the splashing is more the ripple and the movement in the decoys in the water, more so than conveying like that they're relaxed and they're chill. But maybe that is. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm excited for some calm days and be able to throw those out and get those ripples and just look like a bunch of ducks chilling and ready to just bring their friends in. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you the last time I've duck hunted where I didn't use something like that. I've used them almost every time. Um, what I'm saying is, it's never crossed my mind to throw in like 6 or 8 of them. Maybe it should have. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hence the against the grain.
Against the grain. I like it. All right. Billy Prevo. I left decoys out in my field all early goose season. Instead of educating birds every day I hunted, I would find more poop and feathers, and the landowner would tell me when birds were landing when I wasn't there. Also, hunting with the wind in my face, big geese fly over the blind and don't flare when you pull up, making easier shots sometimes.
Interesting. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this. But I would check the legality of leaving decoys in the field like that at your state, if that was something you were entertained in doing. I know up in Maryland they did that. I know some of the guides will do that. I don't know if that's legal everywhere though. Certainly could be.
It might be a private public issue some
I have
places
no
as
idea.
well.
No clue.
That's a good thought though. What do you think about hunting with the wind in the face and they don't flare when you pull up?
I mean, if you're looking for a shot with birds right over top of your blind, I would say that's probably effective technique because they're probably not going to flare. I think that's a hard shot, so that's not the one that I would prefer. But I mean, I try to avoid hunting with the wind in my face at all costs, typically. But so yeah, if you do that, that's an against the grain technique, and if it works for you, rock on. I just, I think it's a tough shot, typically.
Yeah,
trying to get that getting them come over the blind.
I'd rather have them coming right at me. Looking here, when we hunt the river near us, we use basically all goose floaters on long lines for ducks. I know there's people that use goose decoys for ducks, but for the majority of hunters, they wouldn't consider that traditional.
So yeah, I mean, I would agree in general that that's not traditional, but it is becoming more common and more of a popular technique. I mean, geese, provide a lot of benefit when you're hunting ducks. Provides a confidence decoy, provides great visibility. All that kind of stuff is really important. So being able to deploy them on long lines is probably an against the grain technique. I would imagine most people individually rig those because if they're on long lines, it might restrict your ability to use them to actually hunt geese in certain situations, depending on how you want to set them up. But I mean, I've no doubt that that's an effective technique to kill ducks on water, especially big water. If you've got pockets of honkers balled up that are going to pull in ducks.
Just going back over, we do have another one saying killing geese with one decoy seems crazy, but it works. And also take 6 duck decoys out and kill ducks. Numbers aren't always the key. We agree. And hunting 10 to 2 in the afternoon with multiple people agreeing, and has said, especially during cold fronts, 10 to 2.
Cold fronts, that definitely makes sense to me. You might have birds arriving at various parts throughout the day if you've got high winds and cold weather pushing them in. So that totally makes sense. I think that's a really good technique. In my areas where we hunt, again, we don't have the number of birds that a lot of guys probably responding to this do. Central Flyway, Mississippi Flyway guys, we definitely don't. So in my limited Atlantic Flyway experience, the flights tend to shut off during midday. So it's not a technique that I typically do, but I could see in areas where there's heavy migrations moving in and cold weather and wind pushing them, I could definitely see that being something that you'd want to take advantage of. Because some other things too is if it's cold weather, that might be the warmest portion of the day. So that might be the time when birds have the most energy and are most willing to get up off their wherever they're loafing or roosting and go feed. Because when it's so cold, if they're not coming in that day on the migration, when it's so cold, they're thinking, I have to conserve my energy because this cold could kill me. So they're trying to remain as strong and limit their fuel burning as much as possible. So those warm portions of the day are definitely when they're most prone to get up. I mean, we've seen this in our area, particularly with geese, when it's real cold. If they're going to fly, it's usually like mid-afternoon, early afternoon, that warmest portion of the day when the sun gets up a little bit. And even if it's freezing cold, that sun will get up and warm it just enough to get them to get up and try to go find some food. But yeah, I think that cold weather is sort of the key on that one.
No, totally agree. I like it. Going forward, there are a lot of people, and it's not as famous as it used to be, but a lot of jump shooting. A lot of people walking rivers, walking streams, just stalking buffleheads 400 yards and jump shooting them.
I completely agree with jump shooting. I mean, that's it's kind of, the whole water swatting thing for some has gotten to be sort of a, debatable topic, but floating rivers and creeks and canoes or jump shooting from that type of way isn't a really effective way to get a limit going.
Yeah, and I know my father-in-law he had a dog, and he used to walk French Creek and kill ducks every day, and he really enjoyed doing that. And I don't know if he ever set up an actual spread, but he always just did that kind of hunting.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the thing with jump shooting too is just like it's very situational dependent. I mean, like in our area, if you just set up and that's the only way you hunt ducks, like there's going to be some really dry spells where you're not killing a lot of ducks, at least where we hunt, right? So sometimes you just got to go to them, and if you want to try to get any kind of numbers, you got to cover ground and go to them, because we're not getting these big mondo wads of ducks that are just coming in. So you might have to go jump a flock of 6 or 8 on a back creek and try to pick 1 or 2 off and then go find another one, so that's kind of the world we live in. So, if you're in an area where you're hunting mega wando ducks, I mean, I could see you not wanting to go that route.
Yep. No, I agree. All right. This is one of the ones that I wasn't sure about, and it might be totally legit, but Michael Hunt, I hunt next to high tension power lines. The ducks seem to use them as highways.
Michael Hunt? Is this a Simpsons episode? Calling Moe's Tavern here? Okay, sorry. Say it again.
Hunt next to high tension power lines. The ducks seem to use them as highways.
I don't have much experience with that. There's one area that has that I've hunted that has high tension power lines around it, and I don't necessarily know that the spot does have a lot of ducks. I just don't know if they necessarily use it as a highway, so I can't really speak to that. But who knows? I mean, it certainly could be a technique that they. I mean, I could see why. If it's cleared out and
it's like a highway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it certainly could. I mean, I don't know, but I mean,
maybe it gives them a little tingle as they're flying over.
Perhaps. I mean, maybe there's something to like, all the electromagnetic pulses that come off the power lines growing like just some special super powerful vegetation under them that gives them all kinds of strength.
Yum, yum.
Like it's like Mountain Dew for ducks.
All right, we're going to end this one with one that we talk about all the time. A lot of people just refuse to do it. They don't believe in it, but brush an A-frame in the center of a shortcut field with green brush and cedar and absolutely crush birds.
Yep, I 1,000,000% agree that this one is, it's counterintuitive. It's one of those ones where, like, in your mind, you just tell yourself this should not work, but it does. I mean, it definitely can get her done.
People have been doing it for years now. We've been
Yeah.
talking about it for a few years, and it's just crazy that some people still just won't accept it.
I think there's a lot of things that go along this vein that people don't accept or don't want to accept that um, you know that they're effective. I can remember, I think it was back in like the second episode we ever did, and we had Kelly Powers on, and we were talking to him about decoys, and he was talking about how Higdon made at the time, and I don't know if this is still the technique they use, but they were making some of their January mallards really bright, the drakes really, really bright, and they were selling them as packages of just the drakes, because he's like, at that time of year, that color draws birds in. So that's even a technique to say, I'm going to use a different color or intensity of color of decoy at different parts of the year, because at this later in the season, this draws in birds. And some will say, well, the detail of the decoy is so important, so you need them to look so high def and all of these other things. But then you'll have people that said, we've killed birds over black and white for years, right? It's the contrast, it's that pop that the birds can see from a distance that really is what draws them in. So there's a lot of different ways to approach that, and some of them are kind of like, I don't really know what to believe or what's what. So I mean, I think what kind of gets to this against the grain idea is that, like, if it works for you, do it. And if someone else doesn't believe you or doesn't feel that it's an effective technique, then that's fine. And it'll be yours. But you don't need any other proof source other than your own success when you test out some of these things. If it works, go with it. I mean, it might not be what you see the guys on the TV shows doing, but who cares? If that's what if that's what works where you're hunting, then do that. And maybe be open minded and don't discount stuff like this when you come across it in hunting groups or in conversation with other hunters, because just because you've never tried it or never thought to try it, or it seems counterintuitive. I mean, we've done a million hunts where we set up the right way in our mind and we play it the way that we want it to work, and then it just doesn't work for whatever reason. So who's to say that the thing that you don't think is going to work will be the ticket that day? I mean, sometimes you just never know. So having the guts to try some of those things is could be the difference in any given hunt, or whether you have some success or not.
I still don't understand why they don't make just an all drake like decoy pack and an all hen decoy pack. Just, I feel like some people would want all, like, more drakes. Some people would want all the brown ducks, especially early in the season. I think you could probably get away with it with some black ducks. I'd probably buy more hen decoys.
I I thought maybe some companies, maybe Higdon or somebody, had just mallard drake packs, but I could be
Yeah,
wrong about that. But it's definitely
they
not
still do.
not wide ranging. Yeah,
It would be against the grain.
I shouldn't. I should say I don't know what they offer currently, so I can't speak to that for sure. But um, yeah, I mean, it would be you're seeing a lot of different things coming out in products against the grain. Just use the lifetime decoys as an example, getting away from the plastic type foam filled to go into that croc type material for their decoys, and removable weights, and just things like that. The way they look, the dual keel, is completely against the grain. I mean, you
Yep.
haven't seen a decoy look like that probably ever. So that's a huge it's a risk on their part, but obviously it's a risk that they've taken based on things that they've proven to be effective. And obviously you know I, I am a big fan of that decoy and how it looks and feels and its durability. So it's one that, if you're willing to try it, you might like it. So it's kind of one of those things where goes along with the tactics. You can apply this thought to your gear as well. I think another one, a huge one that's come out here in the last couple of years, has been the 2 3/4 shell from Boss. I mean, that is a counterintuitive shell for the waterfowl hunter to use, when we've been told 3-inch, number twos and fours and stuff like that forever. double B or whatever. I mean, it's hard to load your gun that first time with 2 3/4 and be confident. I can tell you right now.
Number fives.
Right. 2 3/4 number fives.
That's their go-to.
I mean, I had my doubts, my first time, just because it was like, man, are we sure about this? And then I started folding up sea ducks like lawn chairs, and I'm like, oh snap, yes, this works. So, it didn't take long for me to buy in. So yeah, it's one of those things where just, you got to get out of your own way sometimes and just try some stuff, see what happens. And, we don't know everything there is to know about everything. So sometimes getting out of your comfort zone and try some different stuff, could really enlighten you and open up some doors to some better hunts.
So my last question is, with the flow that you have now, like, do you put that up in a man bun a lot, or is it kind of just like a hat?
We've switched to my hair portion of the show. It's not long enough for a man bun, Dan.
No, not yet.
No, it's not. And I'm not sure I'd go that route regardless. It's just, I let the salad flow out of the back. That's just how I roll pretty much, mostly with a hat when I can get away with it. So, yeah, just not worried about it right now. Just focus on other things.
All right.
Other things. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. We got leaves are changing big time up here, and just fall's here, man. It's
temps are dropping. I mean, we're getting temps a couple times, got into the 40s, upper 30s overnight down here in Virginia a couple times. So, it's definitely feeling the deal. But yesterday was 80 degrees, so it's like, well, we're in that stage of the year where it's like freezing at night and hot during the day. So
yeah,
but that'll be shifting over soon, and it'll be full on, duck season here. We got a 4-day split coming up, and then it's out for a while here. So that's a nice part about being a Virginia hunter, is you can get your itch in the early season shooting September geese and a couple days of ducks early, and then they kind of get out of the way for archery deer season, which is nice. You can pretty much hunt most of October and the first part of November as a deer hunter and not miss out on duck opportunities or geese. So it's nice in that regard. Where I know you kind of battle both, where it's like the last weekend of archery is always like a pretty solid waterfowl weekend too. So you're kind of trying to figure out what you want to do.
Yeah. I took Dawson out for the first day archery, and I might try and get that out of the way, try and shoot a buck if I can. But this Saturday, 75 degrees. The entire week is in the 60s, and then the following week is all in the 50s, with the nights being in the upper 30s or 40. So that's going to start feeling a little waterfowlish.
We've got hurricane remnants coming through this weekend, I think. So it looks like Saturday and Monday will be a wash here. So not really sure how that'll all play out, unfortunately. So
and push some birds in.
Maybe. We'll see.
That'd be great.
Indeed.
What else you got? Anything else?
I don't think I have anything else. I have no idea how long we've been going, but I think we covered a few things that are probably against the grain, and I think I'm good right now.
I was just looking over more comments. Yeah, I like it. It's a good one, and just if things aren't going your way, maybe try one of these tactics or do the total opposite of what you've been doing. See if it works out.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say ultimately, one of the reasons why I say this is an episode that's worthy of someone's time is that if you're a public land hunter specifically, and you're frustrated with the same outcomes and challenges that you're dealing with, things like this is what you should try, because these are the things that no one else is going to try, and that could be enough to help you get. It might not put your limit on the ground, but it might turn more flocks. And if it gets you one or two more opportunities, I think anybody would trade that if you're in a situation where you're frustrated because you keep running up against these same challenges in your environment. So these out of the box sort of, things are one option that you have to try. And they're really, if you're that frustrated, you got nothing to lose. So give it a shot, see what happens, and kind of go from there.
And it adds excitement.
Yeah. I mean, it's always fun to try something different, like just break up the monotony, something a little different. I'm into it. So sounds good.
Well, good talking to you.
Yeah, man.
Nothing.
You got anything else? You're usually a
Well, sadly, I think we're going to be getting rid of the van here shortly.
blasphemy.
I know.
Can't believe it.
I don't know
Just
what.
getting a new van or what?
No. Not sure yet. She's looking at Honda Pilots or Toyota, not the Sequoia. What's the one smaller than that?
That's a good question. We looked at one of those too. Highlander?
Yeah, Highlander.
You have 100 kids. Are they all going to fit in that thing? I mean, that's a legit question.
Oh, we got three. There's the third row. Only got three kids.
Someone's just getting a shaft.
Yep, getting it back.
And then when they go to the grocery store, you gotta have
just
bags
throw
of groceries
tomatoes at him or what?
Yeah, just put it on your lap, son. Be all right. Well, this gallon of milk for me.
Whatever it takes.
Well, I can't say that I'm not sad to hear that it might be the end of an era.
I know. So everyone go out and buy your HP van shirt before it's gone.
Yeah, if you want to commemorate the stow and go seating capability. Pristine. Is it still pristine? Probably good trade-in value.
Yeah, who knows? I think there's like 90,000 miles on it, I think. So we're getting up there.
Yeah. Been using that puppy. Running it hard.
Of course.
Oh, shoot. All right.
Get out of here.
That's going to do it for this episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out some of our past episodes, and while you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's the best way for like-minded hunters just like you to find our show. Check us out on social media, check us out over at hpoutdoors.com, and anywhere you can find quality podcast content. That's going to do it for this week. Till next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.